good morning. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. Today we have a short presentation just before Wampei, and I'll let my friend Dave Gunther introduce Recycle Up Ghana.
Okay, great. So good morning, everybody. I'm sure you recognize me. I've been here for a while, about a year or so. One of the things I do is I am a mentor for Watson University here in town. If you haven't heard of them, they're located over in Chautauqua. And they teach young people, social entrepreneurs. They teach them how to start their projects. I'd like to introduce Al-Hassan. Al-Hassan is my mentee this semester, and he's working, he'd like to tell you about his project, Recycle Up, that she is starting in Ghana. I'll let you take it.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Hi, everyone. I'm Al-Hassan Muniru from Ghana, and as my mentor Dave said, I'm at Watson Institute here in Boulder until mid-December. So I'd like to share with you my project, which is called Recycle Up Ghana. Basically what we do is we co-create local solutions to the waste challenge in Ghana through youth entrepreneurship programs. And so that's what we do. And before I start, I want to find out from you, like, who knows about Ghana? What do you know about Ghana? Just one of you.
Soccer.
Soccer? Yeah, not so many. Actually, it's just 30 million. Just 30 million. Yeah, but sometimes Nigeria has 108 million, so sometimes you think we are also more, but yeah. So Ghana is like a very beautiful country, as you can see, on the coast of West Africa, and yeah. But besides all the blessed with the nature and cocoa and gold and diamond and everything that you can imagine, also we have a huge problem when it comes to waste management also. Yeah, and actually Ghana is part of the top 10 most polluted countries in the world, so we have a lot of challenges. And basically, when you look at it, you can see in the picture, it's horrible actually. And it's basically down to two main reasons. One, there's an awareness issue, the soft skills aspect of people dumping waste around, but also the waste management infrastructure is also lacking. So the combination of that really makes it a challenge, and that becomes a big social problem also. And there's a lot of flooding when it rains, and there was even an incident where flooding led to a fire because at a petrol station there was a leakage, and then there was fire. So huge challenge. So basically what we do at Recycle Up Ghana is we aim to tackle the waste challenge in Ghana, basically through education and empowerment of the youth. So we work with young people, we empower them because they are the change agent, they are the future generation, and if the young people know what to do, or if they come up with solutions to the challenge, that makes it much more sustainable, looking at the bigger picture over the longer years. So we have already been working over the past 4 years. We started in 2014, and basically, as I already said, we work with young people, and then basically our vision is to see a world where waste is seen as a value and not as waste. So our solution now, we have three main activities that we do, educational program. We also do promote recycling and upcycling programs, and also do consultant. We want to use social entrepreneurship to solve the local challenges, because also youth unemployment is also high. So that's some of the stuff that we do. So basically, here's an overview of what we've been doing so far. As I said, we started in 2014, and we started with summer camps, where we basically had 2 week summer camp for high school students. And during this 2 weeks program, they are basically empowered to become recycling ambassadors. As recycling ambassadors, they go back to their communities, and then they implement entrepreneurship programs to improve the challenge, and that's what they do. And they came out with this project called Recycle Up Your School, where basically they collect the waste in their schools. There you can see as plastic being collected, and then it's sent to recycling firms. And now what we want to do is we want to use social enterprise to solve not only the waste challenge also, but also a lot of other societal challenges also that we have in the country. So basically the main component is awareness, empowerment, and also by doing that we also through our activities. And this is our traction so far. Over the past 4 years, we've already done 6 summer camps in 3 different regions. We've won several awards from Google, from the German embassy, and basically now what we want to set up is a business incubator where we're going to work with young people and build on that model, from that 2 weeks model to sort of have like a 4 months entrepreneurship program where a lot of the ideas that they come up with in that 2 week summer camps, we can really work on it to sort of like further build like businesses which solve societal challenges in the country. And so that's what I'm working on at the moment, the incubator program. So it's like the scaling up of the activities that we've been doing so far. So as I said, it's going to be between 4 to 6 months entrepreneurship program. We're going to build our incubation space. In Ghana, there will be maker space also there. And then co-working space. This guy is similar to what like it's going on here, but build that entrepreneurship ecosystem because youth unemployment is high in Ghana. And also there's also a lot of like societal challenges. So by leveraging those two, a lot of people also are educated. It's growing. Education is also like on the rise. So if we leverage all of these activities, we can have young people really coming up with innovative ideas to solve the problem. So basically that's what we want to do. And also by doing that, sort of help link them to investors also. So my time is up. Like yes, like my team also. We have like so basically I forgot to say like we are both. It's a program between Ghanaian and German students, so that's how we started also. So 2 of my co-founders are Germans, and then also my other co-founder is Ghanaian, and we work from both Ghana and from Germany. So that's like the team. Here at Watson, I'm working on the incubator program, so I would like to also get more feedback also from all of you, and also we can interact further also, sort of like discuss further and see what we're doing also in Ghana. So. Thank you, and yeah, I look forward to sort of like talking with you more also about my project. And just to add to that, so this building is actually a pilot project that we did in Ghana. We built it with plastic bottles. We had bottles and we filled it with sand, and it's a successful that we did also. Yeah, so just yeah.
That's interesting. Great. So I know you have some cards up front beside the copy.
Yes.
What's your ask for the audience here?
Yeah. So basically my ask is to end I'm going to, that's why I want to sort of like, in terms of building the incubator, I would like, now I'm building the curriculum and also just get more feedback on what other ideas we can incorporate in building the space, the maker space, and also other similar programs if anybody knows that I can also get to learn from them and yeah, grant applications and stuff. Yeah, these are my main asks.
So we just have a few minutes, but are there comments or questions?
Hi, Susan Krause, product person. I'm curious, I know you're already working with some other groups for your incubator, but are you familiar with Uncharted? It used to be called the Unreasonable Institute, but now they're called Uncharted, and they're headquartered here in Colorado. They actually launch incubators in countries for exactly what you're doing, and they have a whole curriculum for getting your startup going. I think they would be a really good resource for you if you're interested in talking to them. I can get you in touch.
Yeah, thank you. I would be interested.
Ian, this is really cool, and I like this picture especially. You should put this in the beginning.
Okay.
Don't end your presentation with this, begin your presentation with this. Your presentation is really about we're going to teach people and help people, but there aren't any concrete examples. So when you're telling me this, I don't really know what it looks like. Are you telling people like how to recycle or how to build? And so I don't really know. But this is a really good example.
Okay.
This is a good concrete example of one of the things that has come out of your program. I would take this more into your presentation. This is cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Hi, I'm Brian Long. I've got a data gathering company here in Boulder. I'd also like to learn more about this house and how it was built. Bottles filled with sand. It's really intriguing. I think it also helps you tell a story of sustainability, because that's one of the challenges for anybody that's working in what I presume is a nonprofit space. And is where does the money come from? How does the money flow? And how is it sustainable? And this is one way to show that, because I presume that somebody's willing to pay for a house, and that there's money, and that you can see the money flow. That is super interesting. I'd love to learn more about that.
So I think you're doing fantastic work here. It loses a little bit of impact. You could really capture the audience's attention better if you told some stories. there really weren't any stories. So we all understand recycling. Love to know how it's being done in Ghana, what kind of business opportunities have you produced, what companies are you looking for. Is this building materials? Is this going into feedstocks for industry? Have you succeeded in cracking into that? Recycling is challenging. Logistics are difficult. Finding uses are difficult. It'd be great to hear some stories.
Thanks a lot. Thanks. Hey man, my name's Justin. Just want to congratulate you on the traction you've had. It's really kind of cool to see how year over year you've been able to grow the program and make it really, really practical and tangible. A resource is a Y Center, and they're based out of India. Dari is their founder, but he's kind of been able to bring an online curriculum around social entrepreneurship, other types of entrepreneurship as well. So maybe a great contribution, maybe a great partnership there, but also a way to understand how to how the incubator live on a digital platform, which is a way that you can help increase your reach.
What made you decide that you needed an incubator next? It sounds like your camp programs have been relatively successful and that you've had some good training experiences. Why go the route of an incubator next? And what are you finding are your biggest hurdles?
Yeah, thank you. So basically it came up organically. So we had already been working with them. We've done the camp for 4 years, and we did 6 summer camps with the students. And basically what we realized was, so at the end of the summer camp, like when they had to work on their project, so a lot of them had other ambitious ideas. Some wanted to work on like plastic to fuel projects, some wanted to set up businesses, but they needed more time and more resources to work on their other ambitious projects. So it actually came up from them that yeah, if we had a longer program where we can really sort of like work on our businesses, that would be awesome. So, but we are not stopping the other activities. So my co-founders are working on that, and I'm sort of like working on that incubator idea, and then sort of like bridge them together.
There's the story's interesting, and repeating what my colleague said, congratulations. I saw your budget grow every year by a substantial amount. Way to go. I don't know what I personally can do at this point. So if you had, for example, microfunding organization that you work with for your students who want to start a business, then I would know, oh, I can go there, put some money in there, and contribute to this business. Or, you know, if there was some concrete action I could take, as it is right now, I'm excited for you, and as I say, congratulations. But I don't have a good sense of what I personally can do right now. And right now is, you know, as fired up as I get about your idea, but, you know, I'm gonna be happy for you tomorrow too, but not as happy as I am right now. Maybe something new right now.
Yeah, so having to ask you. So right now what I'm doing is I'm building the design for the incubation space. Actually, we are going to build the incubators by ourselves. We're going to use the bottles and the sand to build our space actually also. And so the main ask for now, I'm doing fundraising. So also like one of the main things that I'm doing right now. But I haven't launched. I'm going to launch like a campaign for fundraising, but I want to sort of like build the concept and everything sorted before I ask for money and stuff. So at the moment, I can get in contact or something, and then I will give you more information with that.
So anticipating a fundraising, you might want to be prepared to accept lots of contact data or a way for me to easily supply an email address or something so that you can include me on your Kickstarter or whatever mechanism you're going to use for your fundraising.
Last one.
Okay, I'm just curious if you have government support in the project that you're doing and whether you can get funding from, I know it's not a super wealthy country, but can you get funding from the government and are they supporting your activities?
We've never gotten funding from the government, but they've approached us a couple of times because the DWTV and BBC have covered us, so the government knows about us. And even like before, I think 2 years ago, I met with the Minister of Environment and stuff, and they are interested in what we are doing, but like they haven't given us any financial support yet. but they know of us, and yeah, right.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Charles in the back with more information and connect up after the meeting. So if I was switching up with Wampei, is there anyone new here that went on the cups today? Introduce yourself. Yes, please.
I'm Ella Kinlock from Canada. I just started this day 3 of our accelerator program at Boulder. Work closely with Bob. I'm excited to be here. I have 2 business cards left. And we've been networking hard for 3 days, so I'd love to meet you.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Dan Rice. I'm a software developer at Radial Development Group. We have a membership at Galvanize, and I'm part of the team. I've been at the Fort Collins one, so I'm kind of visiting here the first time. So.
Fantastic. Welcome. Anyone else?
I'm not new. I'm Brian Long. I brought Stroop waffles. And I'm happy to throw a Stroop waffle to anybody who raises their hand so that we don't have a rush back there, but it wouldn't be a good coffee meeting without a Stroop waffle.
I don't know what it is.
Oh, it's candy for breakfast.
Definitely.
Okay. It's from Holland. It's a Dutch treat. It's waffle crackers with caramel in the middle. You want one? Great. Oops. Sorry, I almost hit Mike. Well, all right. There you go. Okay, we got. Are you taking one? I got one left. You guys. Oh, he spoke. I'm going to do it. Sorry.
Those are good for.
Yep, that's it. Sorry.
And Maria's got an announcement before we get started.
So we are organizing South Weekend Space to be launched October 12th at CU Boulder. Right now we are looking for participants. So if you can help us spread the word about it, we are looking for engineers. We are looking for people with more technical background to be participants through the full weekend. I'll be here afterwards. There are some flyers on the table too if you want more information about it. Colorado is the first economy in the aerospace industry per capita. If you look at it in a second, in a different way. But it's a really, really huge industry. It makes a lot of sense to do this, and it's really exciting. We have great support from the community. So yeah, that's it.
You want another announcement, Jim?
Yes.
Let's see, tonight over at CU is the campus-wide kickoff. It's called the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Campus Kickoff 2018. And so they'll be discussing all of the different programs at CU related to entrepreneurship for the year. Speakers tonight will include Justin from Justin's Nut Butter, also the team that won the New Venture Challenge last year. We'll be talking a little bit about their experience in NBC and being acquired by Spiro. That is tonight at 5:30 p.m. It's at the Startup Hub at the Village Center, and you can find it on Eventbrite.
Russell, so what's the design of the presentation? What are you trying to do?
So I was here in February, gave a pitch back then. I recognize a few faces here. I got really, really good feedback from everyone at that. And this is a new pitch deck that I made as a result of what I've learned and the feedback I got. I want to bring it back. I want to make sure that our business proposition is clear what we do early on. That was one of the weaknesses before. Want to give you an idea of how we're progressing. Want to make sure that we're connecting with pain points in a way that's easy for you to understand. We identify the pain points, try to make that really clear. And we're looking at getting an advisory board or contacts in the middle of the traction around now. So any of that kind of those kind of contacts we can get from you would be really, really great.
Fantastic. Well, great to have you back. All right,
Thanks a lot. So once upon a time, there was an entrepreneur. And he wanted to start a business, so he went to the state and filled all the requisite forms, got his federal EIN, and he was ready to go, right? So then he went to go set his bank account. And he found that no banks would work with him because he was in the cannabis industry, and the federal government has a thing with the cannabis industry. Therefore, banks, which are regulated, have a thing about that. And so that was not good. And it also meant that he couldn't do things like accept electronic payments, right? Credit cards, debit cards, electronic checks, the kind of thing that make everything work nowadays. Not to be derailed, he decided to go ahead and do business like they did the 1800s, all in cash, right? And so we did that. It was hard, he could manage it, but it was difficult and costly, and particularly hard when he had to pay for big things like payroll, product, and taxes. So as much as 20% of all of his costs are related to collecting, managing, and handling cash. This is real cash management, not the kind that you talk to your bank about. So what he needs is to be able to accept electronic payments, right? He needs to be able to get out of his cash business and accept electronic payments in some way that's like electronic cash. Enter Wampei Register, which is our software. It allows any business anywhere to accept Bitcoin payments directly without a third party, with or without a bank. If they have a bank, great. If they don't have a bank, great. They can do it in the store with either an integration with the point of sale or just using our software directly. This is actually a picture from Local Joe Hawaii, one of our first brick and mortar customer. They can do it online through the use of plugins to e-commerce platforms and direct integrations. This is a screenshot from Greenbox PDX, a delivery-only cannabis dispensary that's up in Oregon. And they can also even create invoices and bills, send them via snail mail, the post office, even fax. If you're crazy, you don't do that. Whatever, people, So here's the thing. This is a story that I'm telling you is happening every day over and over again throughout the United States because of the problem with cannabis and the laws that are in the states versus the laws that are federal. In Colorado alone, there are 3,000 cannabis businesses, and Colorado is better than most, but nationally, only 30% of those businesses have banking. So 60 to 70% of these businesses do not have banking at all, and they're in this cash management thing. A lot of times, the costs that they have are kind of impossible to get your head around. So the ones that do have some sort of banking typically pay anywhere between 5 and 15% to be able to accept payments, which is pretty enormous. Then the ones that don't, to transport cash, they're paying between 2% and 8% to just move that money around. And then to inventory, it's literally ceramic wrap bricked and palletized money, they're paying 1 to 2% per month. Okay? Not to mention the fees that the banks charge them, which are around $3,000. By the way, this picture, which is actually a picture taken by USA Today of one dispensary paying its tax liability out of the Department of Revenue, which you can see right there. Mind-blowing. This is the world we live in. So our software leverages Bitcoin to enable crypto commerce. And there's a lot of things I can tell you, but we're not going to get into the details of Bitcoin. If you want to learn more about it, I'm more than happy to talk to you about it afterwards. The most important thing is there's never been an easier, simpler, more straightforward, accessible to the public method of doing electronic payments. It's the first time, and it's amazing. The benefits for consumers, or for merchants, are of course, you eliminate fraud, which is a huge big deal, $20 billion a year in the United States alone. And you don't have to tie any personal data to any payment information because the payments are a push. You've also got funds that are available the next day, even sooner in practice, if that's the way that the business is going to run. They can save as much as 95% over what they're paying now for similar types of services. Of course, if they're not providing e-commerce, it's hard to get a number for that. And then the final thing is no middleman, no banking, no merchant account, no acquiring bank required. Now the way that we make money is we either have flat rates for transactions, we have a prepaid flat rates for a set of transactions, a block of transactions, or enterprise licenses. And we keep our fees very low. The maximum anyone's going to pay is $3 per transaction. It could be a $3,000 payment, $3. We've chosen the cannabis as our beachhead. The reason is because the market's already a $50 billion business. or a $50 billion market. It's growing 17% year over year. At least that's what the projected markets are. There's the acute needs that they have that we've already identified. It's the big cherry in the middle of what we're looking at, and that's where we're focusing right now our traction efforts on. The serviceable market, we have about $400 million serviceable market in 2019 for cannabis, but there's also these other industries that are luxury, high risk, and the adult industry. And they are ones that we can move in pretty easily because they're all very high risk, and they have all sorts of problems that are similar to what cannabis has, but not necessarily quite as acute. And when I talk about high-risk businesses, this is a credit card term, and it includes lots of different businesses, you can see from this, and the kinds of rates that they typically pay are between 8 and 25% for processing debit or credit card transactions. So clearly, there's a need there as well. So this is an area that we can move into very quickly and very easily as our secondary, or if things don't go quite as well with cannabis as we think, we can move into that. Our 5-year projections show us making, sort of breaking even around month 11 or 12 in year 2. And then our software, what we're doing is we're working to make it cost less for us per month to host an individual user or to have them host it themselves. Right now we're about $18 per month. We're about to bring it down to about $7 per month, so you can see that as we get more and more, it ramps up. And if we find the right partners who can help us move to the international market, which I'll get into in a minute, we think that this growth can look a lot higher, a lot steeper than this. A word about competition. There are a lot of these pot coins and all these other things that are out there, Canacoin, that were like cryptocurrencies that were forked from Bitcoin or made themselves, or just a concept, and they were supposed to solve all the problems. Here's the thing, is most of them are scam coins. And even, let's say they're not. Let's say they're just really well-intentioned but poorly informed and poorly implemented solutions. They can't scale, they don't really solve the problems because the consumers can't get the stuff, and they still need an exchange and a bank at the end of the day. So we don't even worry about them as competition, but they're worth mentioning. There are competitors out there, right? There are high-risk and cannabis-focused processors out there. And so we still stack up really well against them for a lot of reasons. And we only have a limited amount of time, but there's one that is more important than all the rest. And that is all the rest of them require banking. There is some sort of banking, whether it's with a bank or with them, as like PayQuick does. And with us, there is no banking required. So they're going after 30% to 40% of the cannabis market. We're going after 100% of the cannabis market. And after that, we're also going after 75% of the businesses in the rest of the world, which I'll also hint at. I'll get to that later. As far as our team, my co-founder and I have over 30 years of e-commerce, e-government, and solutions development experience. I cut my teeth in 1996 in the first credit card website where you could go online and pay your bill in real time for AT&T Universal Card Services. In 2000, I went on to be the chief mentor for forcharity.com. Some of you may not realize this or may not remember, but before 2000, it was actually pretty hard to give a donation to a nonprofit with a credit card. It was too hard. We were the ones who really made that happen in a lot of ways. And then, before starting Wampei, for 13 years, I was the president of Hawaii Information Consortium. We had the contract to provide all the e-government services for the counties and for the state of Hawaii. We processed about $2 billion in payments a year, so I lived and breathed payments more than I really want to, burned through many banks because our volume was so high, and didn't know how to deal with it. And yes, it's true, we did taxes and business registrations, and you could order Obama's birth certificate. You would deny it, but you can order it. So Matt, my CTO, he was in the Marines and then the Navy, did satellite communications, got into DoD contracting before he started working for me and working on the payments side for us about 6 years ago. We have a great team of advisors and contractors that have helped us get this far, and that's growing fast. We just ramped up a bit because we started this round. We're trying to get as much traction as we can, so we hired 2 business development people that are focused on helping us sell. We're working, of course, to protect our intellectual property. We're a software company, right? So we have copyrights, trademarks, all those kinds of normal things that you'd have. As far as an exit strategy, we think within 3 years we're a good target for an acquisition, whether you're looking at an private equity firm, the payment providers, the e-commerce platform providers, or even the point of sale providers. Now, this is the biggest, most exciting thing about this market. Now, these two pie charts, the international retail market, that includes the United States, but also everybody else, is worth $24 trillion, with a T, $1 trillion a year. 90% of that is cash. 90%, $22 trillion a year in cash, $2 trillion a year in e-commerce, electronic payments, any sort of electronic payment method. That's because both sides have to have banking in order to make this happen. Our solution works for this 90%. The best the banking industry predicts is 2% growth per year, maybe 3%, which gets them to about 20% in 10 or 12 years. Right? So this is a huge opportunity for us with the right partners, with the right funding. We think we can go after that. You can see it looks a lot different in the United States, with mostly 70% of all retail transactions going through as electronic. Right now we're focusing on cannabis in Colorado, then we're moving on to, we're already in Oregon, but we're going to move into Colorado, or Oregon, Michigan, and California. Next month, as we sort of refine what our cost of acquisition is and where we really should be playing, we'll be probably raising some funds later on and then going into this high-risk market that I mentioned before. I got like a 30-second quick demo. Should I show that to you guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. This was one of the things that we talked about last. So it's sped up. This is them using ShopKeep, and then this is them using our software to put in the amount. It displays a QR code. They slide it over. It's scanned with the wallet by the consumer. That's me being way too chatty, talking about it. You can see it's like a 2-minute demo on online. Then she goes back, clicks OK. It notices that it's been paid already, right? It's gone to the blockchain already, and then she goes back to her point of sale, which in this case is ShopKeep. That was like the quickest demo I could possibly make. You may have gotten nauseous. Sorry about that. So, I did it again. Is that good? Okay. So thank you very much for your time. Once again, I'm Russell Castagnaro. My cards are back there. I'm really interested in your feedback. We want you to help us lead the world to a newer, safer, more open and inclusive e-commerce in the future. Thank you very much.
Again, I'm Brian. Very effective in 3 parts. So I immediately understood who your customer was, the problem you were solving, and your solution. You left me with one huge question, though, and that I think needs to be answered. And it has to do with how you can get away without know your customer rules, or how you can get away without the banking relationships.
Sure.
And all of the other competitors have to do that. And so for me, that's kind of a critical piece there. Are you just ignoring the law, or what's going on? I need to hear that.
Know your customer? So in case you don't know your customer, KYC, anti-money laundering, AML. It was on the features list, but the reason we don't have to do it is because we are a software company. In the same way that the cash register, we want to be the unsexiest thing in the crypto world. We want to be a cash register for crypto. So I'm going to answer it, and it's kind of one of those things I wonder if maybe it's better an answered question than it is put in a slide, because it can get too confusing for other people. But since we're software, we're not money transmitters, we're not a money service business, the payments that they're receiving are in their custody, so we're not custodial. We don't take possession of any funds. They have the primary keys. We don't, in most cases, we install the software in their account. So we really are a software solution for this, not a service provider.
So they're receiving Bitcoin, not dollars.
They're receiving Bitcoin, and then what we do is we'll connect the system. So in the cash register world, you take in your money, at the end of the day, you bundle it, you make a deposit slip, and send it to the bank. Right? That's not money transmission unless you're the one that picks up the bag and sends it. So what we do is we configure our system to send the funds that's in a till, it's a virtual till, to the destination they want. It could be a hardware wallet, it could be a software wallet, could be a debit card, could be an exchange that converts immediately to cash. Most of our customers don't want to deal with crypto at all. Converts to US dollars right away, they don't have to worry about volatility, they don't have to worry about any other stuff. So it does that, but it's their account, and they use their institution, and we can hook them up with them, but they're having a contract with someone else who does that any sort of money transmission that needs to happen.
Okay, thanks.
It is not. It is a cash transaction. So the commerce is protected. You can basically take money for your goods. That's part of commerce. So you're taking a cash transaction, and there's no third party doing it. You had a question?
Yeah, you mentioned early on that the others were kept out by risk, and you said risk is a credit card term.
Well, high risk business,
yeah, high risk business.
is a credit card term.
What is that risk, and how are you not exposed to it in the process?
Great question. So the biggest is that they're highly likely to get chargebacks. So for instance, you have like maybe a company that's servicing tourists who typically will come through, they'll buy something, some tchotchkes or something like that. They'll pay $25, $35, $45, and then they'll forget what it was or whatever, and then then they'll do a chargeback to the bank. Right, and so that happens, and the more chargebacks you have, the higher risk profile you get to, until you get to high risk. And the percentages and the reserve requirements, which are even bigger, part of it are what causes that. There's also, if you can't get banking, if you can't get an acquiring bank for some other reason, you have to go with a more like a second tier or third tier payment processor. You may have the acquiring bank take a few more percentage points off of your payment. So they'll, if you're not, WorldPay won't work with you, then you have to step down, and that's going to step up your charging as well. So there's a risk profile from the banking side, and there's a risk profile from the chargebacks as well.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm Ian, I'm an attorney at DC Finance and M&A. I want to build off of Brian's question, because I thought this was I feel like this was a much different presentation than the first time, and I think this was much better. This is good.
Thank you.
So what I wrote was less why, more what, and more how. The why is critical, but you sold it pretty well. Like you opened very, very nicely with the problem. You sold it. At that point, you move off of it. You kept like hammering on the problem. We get it. Back off. Sold us. Give us more what. So more what exactly? I would take that demo at the end and move it up right after you sell the why. So this story is happening all across the country. People can't move money. Let me show you the solution. Boom, here's your demo. Then you can get more details. But that was too useful to put at the end.
Okay.
And then last, give me the how. Right? And the demo does a little bit of that. But to Brian's question, so what actually is happening? So I log in and I have a Bitcoin, so a third-party Bitcoin wallet, I'm assuming.
Yeah, any Bitcoin wallet.
Okay, and I have already bought it.
That's right.
Okay, excellent. So that's critical because now your market is very different than I walk in with a credit card and want to buy weed.
Absolutely.
And what do I do with it? Right? So you need to be very upfront with this is a solution for people who walk into a store and have Bitcoin. They can pay Bitcoin using their existing wallets. They have to have a wallet already. They have to have Bitcoin already.
That's right.
Second step, I'm assuming the store has to have a wallet.
Well, they have our software.
Okay, so your software is the wallet.
For them, it's the till essentially, but it's
Yeah,
technically a wallet.
Okay, cool. So don't call it a till if it's actually a wallet. If everybody else is understanding the term wallet, don't call it a till, call it a wallet.
Problem is most of it. It's confusing, but I totally.
So maybe
I
bring
understand
the
what you're
term at
saying.
some point, but
Yeah.
in this part where I as an investor are trying to wrap my head around what the hell's actually happening. Okay, so they have a wallet that you provide. How does that then go to cash? And to Brian's question, how are you different than a bank? Like, where's the moment of cash? Where's the moment where this is different from take your system out, person walks in the Bitcoin wallet, store has a Bitcoin wallet, and I transfer Bitcoin, right? What's the part in that without you transaction you guys are adding? That's what we need to know.
Got it, okay.
If you have an answer, I'd love it.
So I do. So clearly the customer needs to come in with Bitcoin, with a Bitcoin wallet installed. Then we have, we can tell them how the customer can get Bitcoin. That's a whole different thing. The merchant, when you saw the demo, you see them pulling up. What the software does is it creates a payment request, which is a Bitcoin standard, that is then within that QR code. They display it to the customer who scans it, and they send the funds directly to the merchant's wallet, which is embedded inside Wampei register. As often as they like. So if you have a cash register, normally it's once a day. But as often or as infrequently as the merchant would like, they can do what's called a consolidation. So it's analogous to a bundling, where they log in, they provide the mnemonic key, take all the payments together, and this is a one-screen process. So you put it in, it takes all the existing payments that have been confirmed and sends it to the predetermined funding address. That address can be an exchange that automatically converts it to US dollars or to whatever currency they want, so they don't have to worry about volatility. Like I said, they can do it as often or as infrequently as they like. They can send it to their own wallet or a hardware wallet. They can send it to a debit card. You can send it to a crypto-funded debit card, which is what a lot of the unbanked customers love to do. And that way, they can spend that money within 15 minutes.
Okay, so that's a critical component, and you don't want to get caught in the weeds. So be careful about a lot of detail you just went into. Maybe don't put it all in your pitch. We'll probably get questions afterwards, but you want to give us enough information in the pitch that we understand the basics of what just happened. And the basics of what just happened are, you guys are not facilitating the
conversion
transaction that actually converts anything from Bitcoin to dollars.
That's right.
All you guys are doing is making the actual existing and untouched Bitcoin payment process a little bit more convenient. You're giving a QR code and you're sort of providing a layer of UI on top of the existing, and this is the really important part, you're not touching it. You guys have no part of it. You're providing a nice UI on top of the existing Bitcoin payment, and then on the back end, and again, you're not helping write anything in the blockchain, you're not processing anything, all you're doing is connecting it to wallets. Right. And then you're allowing the vendor to bundle up a group of transactions to more efficiently interact with the transaction party of their choice.
I'm so glad we're recording this.
That's what you need to say, and there's 10 minutes of this pitch, which is a little bit too long anyway, where I'm just scratching my head this is interesting, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Cool, I get the problem, I get the why, but what's the how? Give me the how.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a couple questions around your market sizing, actually. So, to Ian's point, your actual target market is Bitcoin users first and foremost. Secondarily, you can participate in the categories that which you believe you can service. Roughly by June, there were 25 million Bitcoin users in the United States, roughly. That's what the internet's saying. Let's just call it a number. So you get 25 million potential customers, and they have to want to purchase these products. So on top of that, you need cannabis users within Bitcoin or adult content consumers, and or not sure what you mean by luxury. I saw you put auction in there. Is that what's falling under luxury for you?
No, luxury items are where they have an average bill that's over $1,000.
Okay, and so that's my world personally, historically, and I can tell you over 10 grand, I didn't take credit cards.
Right.
And like car dealers won't, basically for this exact reason, chargebacks, but also merchant fees, right? Which I don't believe you've touched, because at the end of the day, there's still fees at the merchant level if somebody wants to, you can't swipe a card and use Bitcoin at this moment. So I guess my call out to you would simply be cognizant that one little slice of information around the Bitcoin user piece could dramatically shift your addressable market. And so with your forecast of 15 million in 3 years for a sellout, you're extraordinarily dependent on Bitcoin adoption curve, and it may be worth it for you to run them concurrent in your pitch somewhere, or even in the background, who knows, just to make sure you're covering your bases on market sizing.
I'm jumping up and down with plus ones.
Yeah, so I got some support slides too about that. But one interesting thing I just want to point out is that we're not, the reason we're not marketing to Bitcoin holders right now is because what we want is the merchants, so our most successful merchants are the ones that give a discount. So, you get a 5% discount if you pay us with Bitcoin, right? And so now what they have is the consumer has an incentive to get Bitcoin, and it's much more easily accessible than it was even 6 months ago. With
Yeah.
more Bitcoin. So that just a quick
Yeah.
thing, but I really appreciate it.
And if I may, because compliment sandwich to the extent, I will say, several friends in the industry at different levels, hash, grow, retail, and so forth, and I will say, like, there's no question that for the longevity of the cannabis business, some of the stuff has got to come forward in order to make this more transactable. So well done in addressing something that's definitely very real. It's just a question of how does that land and where to play ball. So nice work.
Thank you.
It's great presentation. So I'm Dirk Thornton, software developer. I wanted to dive in a little bit more on the business model. I like the business model. I think we need something like this, regardless of whether it's the campus or just general purchasing. You had mentioned that, well, in the demo, it looked like the transaction was confirmed immediately, but of course with Bitcoin,
Not confirmed.
10 minutes to an hour, right? So how does the merchant know that it's actually a
So transactions are actually posted to the blockchain within 10 or 12 seconds, as long as they come from an existing or from a non-custodial wallet, right? So I can show you.
Not been my experience.
So I can show you in just a minute, but it's not confirmed. Remember, confirmations, just in case you don't know, confirmations are basically confirmation of settlement. And when people talk about the speed of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, they're typically talking about the speed of confirmation, which is the same as settlement.
Yeah,
Right.
but you can't put something on the blockchain unless it's actually then confirmed by six miners.
Well, that's a configuration for your wallet, but it's also, that's different. You know that payment has been submitted into the Memcache.
Yeah.
And you know that it's there.
But you don't know that they have the money in their wallet.
You can actually do things to make sure that it's going, you have a higher confidence than you do with a credit card authorization. Okay, so you're right, it's not 100%, but it's a heck of a lot better than a credit card.
It's still better from the merchants.
From the merchant standpoint, it's much less stressful. I forgot to give these out here, catch to the questions.
These chocolates, they are just ball walking. Look at that shit.
So I don't know, does this get you in trouble if you consider having AI involved in the transaction so that the merchant doesn't have to really think about the volatility of Bitcoin, so that it's watching the trends on Bitcoin and says, okay, take a bundle and push it, does that immediately make you liable then? Can you do something like that? Because I feel like
It'll make us buzzword compliant.
well, hopefully, hopefully this is eventually going to settle down, but it's not, right? It's still dropping and rising, and even if you wait, you know, on some days, if you wait till the end of the day, you might have lost 20% of your sales. So if your AI could watch the trends and say, okay, we better bundle up and sell this right now. And how do they also track the, I mean, I'm just being stupid here, but when someone goes to pay, they can't say, oh, this is 5 Bitcoins, right? How does the actual cost of the product get reflected to the not super sophisticated user buying cannabis to know how much they're actually paying and how much their Bitcoin is, you know what I'm saying?
All good
The
questions.
math.
Let me go back.
Because they're stoned and, you know, they gotta.
Well,
it's only
they're waiting to get
They
persistent state.
We're not talking about bud tenders buying, we're talking about bud tenders who are selling.
Well, I'm sorry.
So first of all, when we create the QR code, first the customer, the whoever's selling it says, oh yeah, this is how much it's going to be, right? This is how much you're going to pay us, $10. Then there's a QR code that's generated, and that displays the amount in Bitcoin. But also, the unit of account is always whatever the business's unit of account is, right? So US dollars or euros. Then when they scan that QR code, that payment request, they'll see on their wallet, oh, this is a request for this much in Bitcoin, and this is how much it is in your unit of account. So I could go to Europe,
When?
and then what?
Based on when?
Based on that moment, that very moment.
Okay, so you guys are pulling live exchange rate.
Yes.
Got it.
Right. So
I think that was your question.
so that was the big. The other thing about the AI is we can't, since we're not a money service business, we don't have control over when they decide to bundle them.
That's what I said, does that get you in trouble?
Right. So that would get us in trouble. But I think at the same time, there's people like to throw out that 20%, you know, change and everything. And really, if you look, it's more like the maximum that you're looking is 4 to 5% in a given day of the play that you have in Bitcoin. And then I've got the charts to show you. But these guys, for these players that we're talking about, the high risk business, that's not a sure thing. So some days they're going to be up 5%, some days they're going to be down 5%. They're always going to be better off than they are paying 8 to 15% to 25% in
And
credit.
if that vendor is staying, as you suggest, never going to cash at all, are they evading taxes? Are they hiding their earnings?
No. They're still reporting their earnings through a point of sale.
But could they get away with it? I'm just wondering if your
You can get away with cash. You can do the same thing you do with cash.
Right.
You can take cash and just.
So your software could potentially facilitate somebody doing tax evasion?
They are just like a cash register.
I want to piggyback a little on what Ian said about the complexity of your narrative, which is I would recommend to you on particulars. So you take a particular scenario where you have specific entities at both ends taking cash and then receiving cash to the end customer. As part of like how does this work, rather than explaining it in the complexity that you did. Because I kind of followed, but it's well. So if I have an account here and I have an account here, in the middle, this is what happens. I think that will really clarify everything. But that was actually my question. It was just something I couldn't get away from after Ian gave his. My question is, if I'm selling a federally scheduled substance, like cannabis or something else, what's your liability to the company in to a certain extent facilitating that transaction?
We sell software. We don't hold any money. They use our software, and that's the end of it. That's what I mean. We have 3 different lawyers who have given us that advice as well. At the state level, and both in Hawaii and in Colorado, the banking commissioners have echoed that as well.
Okay.
So now the federal government can do what the federal government wants, but that is, since we're not a party to the actual transfer, there's not really many things that could touch us other than software.
Now you are, of course, subject to statutory changes, correct?
Absolutely.
So, sorry.
Oh, let me, here you go.
I had a question about the fees. So you kind of talked about the problems that were faced, say, in these different industries, and you looked at how this particular software could counteract those 8 to 50% maybe transfer fees or transaction fees, but also all the fees that it takes to be able to deal with money or cash as a cannabis business, right? But it seems like you have this kind of price point at $3 per transaction.
That's
right?
the max.
Max $3 per transaction, and it seems like there's a little bit of a my assumption is that there's a need for a business to have a certain critical mass of customers that are using Bitcoin to be able to move themselves off of having to pay all those fees you stated as promised at the beginning, right? So your cash register is still just one tool that they needed to be able to have transactions go. My assumption is that you have that $3 max to make it as minimal of a burden on their business as possible. Is that fair?
Well, I think what we want to make sure is that compared to other options. So when you have like higher invoice amounts, you're going to compete with things like cashless ATMs or point of sale systems that use debit card type stuff, and that's typically $3.95 to $5.95 if they're paying for that. So for those kinds, that we're significantly less than that, and we don't have any other associated fees. But we didn't want to be at a point that was higher than that. Really, I mean, ideally, in our world, we'd like to have a subscription fee that you pay monthly, and not have to have a transaction fee. But until we have to have a model that makes people comfortable getting into that, so they can stick their toe in without having to because the first month they have 5 transactions every week. That's like, oh, well, why am I going to pay this much per month? So we give them a pay as they go. That's a way to go.
That's what I was kind of wondering, is there a critical mass within the store, within the industry that you notice, where you're able to increase your fee because you're taking on more of the transactions or business that's required by the organizations?
The fee is per transaction when you're talking about. So the volume is how we would have to go up. I mean, I would think that we would go, our actual fee per would go down, not up. Right? It's like the Amazon system.
All right, we specifically break for a couple more questions.
Okay, I'll show you.
So I'm just curious, like you set up this solution for the merchant, and the
Bitcoin is going into a wallet, and then when it gets bundled, it gets moved to their wallet.
Well, it's their wallet too. So we don't have, the system doesn't have the public, it's the secret key. They are their own.
So there's two separate wallets. There's like the holding, like
There's the tilt wallet. And then there's whatever address they're sending the funds to, which could be the exchange.
Yeah, okay, got it. Thank you.
How and when are you raising 750,000?
Wasn't supposed to. Sorry about that. I don't know. So we're not really talking about fundraising. That was like a conceptual. Yes.
2 points. One, the whole thing kind of falls apart as soon as cannabis is legalized, so I would take a greater emphasis on the fact that this is a quick beachhead before you jump to things like the larger adult market and the international market. And second, why don't you layer something in there so that when I go to pay, if I don't have Bitcoin, you just there's a magic layer that goes into your wallet and stuffs some money into it. Because I don't have Bitcoin. It seems like that's just adding that layer is a natural way to make it much easier to interact with your system.
Well, but it makes us a money service business.
Got it.
And so we'd rather partner with someone to do that. Yes.
Is your cash register integrated into existing point of sale systems?
So we have a REST API that we can interface. We're looking for partners that are point of sale vendors, because then we can break into a lot more. Like for instance, we've been doing this thing. We're actually getting traction with like breweries, which who would have thought? But if we can interface with their point of sales directly, then just imagine you go and you're at a bar and you're paying a bill, but they stick the little paper invoice in a glass in front of you. If that came with a QR code, you scan it, you pay, you walk out. Saves everybody a lot of time.
Yeah, and the big issue, you must integrate with existing point of sale systems, because you're not going to get...
To get good traction, we have to, and then we're looking for that.
And are you only doing Bitcoin, are you considering Ethereum or...
So that's a great question. The 90% of the non-exchange transactions are Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the easiest one for consumers to get. The Ethereum wallets are clunky and hard to use. So this needs to be consumer friendly. So you have to understand about gas and all that kind of stuff. Some people can't even figure out how to use MetaMask to buy cryptokitty. So so we want to make it as easy as possible and not have to have the bud tenders or the retail folks helping people use their wallet and telling them what kind of gas to put in, making it really very simple. As soon as there are more widely held and used other cryptocurrencies, we'll add those on. But since it's consumer friendly, if you have to buy Bitcoin to get a different coin, that's not a good candidate for us.
Would the merchant then go like Coinbase to send their
They could.
to and then into their checking account?
They could. Coinbase there are some better ones suited for merchants who want to do an immediate conversion. So there are other instruments and other exchanges, but really it's up to them. We lay out the options for them. They choose.
They could go to ShapeShift.
They could go to anybody, and that would be perfectly fine.
And one last question. One idea would be that you could provide the capability for the merchant to set a percentage of the Bitcoin that they want to immediately exchange into fiat. They just have a policy that we're going to immediately exchange 80% of the Bitcoin into fiat and maintain 20% in our wallet for investment purposes.
I think we could do that, but the whole idea is that till isn't meant to be a long-term storage. They're going to always need that, and they can use another wallet to do that. But I mean, it's a good thought. Is there one more question? Okay, that's it. Hey, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you all for awesome feedback.
Thanks, Jim.